Yeah, let's move on to Chelsea then. And obviously, Zach, you are the man when it comes to Chelsea. Now, we read prior to going live that Chelsea were pretty confident from a number of sources of landing Anthony Gordon and Rafael Leao.
Wow, that's
from
exciting,
AC Milan. 22 goals and assists from the left winger last campaign. Yeah. I feel like you've been linked with every winger under the sun. You've got an awful lot of wide talent in the squad already. So what gives? Surely this means players are moving on as well, mate.
Oh, mate, I think Chelsea is just any exciting youngster is who Chelsea's been linked to, and also a player who's now in his 30s in Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Number one issue is goal scorer. Number one issue is a goal scorer for sure. They don't have that at all. They've got a youngster in Broha who looks exciting for sure, can run the channels really well, but every other week seems to be injured, which isn't very positive at only 20 years old. It kind of felt like before the Premier League started that Chelsea were happy to go with Kai Havertz and have Broha as the backup. And then the season started and they've gone, still got the same issues, can't score any goals.
But 30 million on Aubameyang.
Well, I think the latest report is 20 million or 17 million plus £5 million add-ons, which is better.
It's better, but it's a lot.
And then there are still
Mud for Arsenal.
There are still the reports that Marcos Alonso will go the other way. Obviously, he has a fantastic relationship supposedly with Thomas Tuchel. They get on really, really well. It's a guy who's going to run the channels. I don't see him pressing as much as, say, someone like Kai Havertz is going to, but maybe that's something Thomas Tuchel is willing to sacrifice in order to have a goal scorer in the box, because chances like ones that came against Tottenham Hotspur for Kai Havertz need to be taken. And the hope is that Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang would do that if he comes in. I don't mind it.
I like Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang as a player, and obviously he's got the connection to Thomas Tuchel, but it's such a it's almost,
not the first.
You know how United have been criticised really badly recently of like these short-term signings, like Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang on like a 3 or 4 year deal.
But at the same time, I think you've got to remember Chelsea have tried the long-term route. And it's not gone well.
Yeah.
Hakim Ziyech, Christian Pulisic, Timo Werner.
It's all about how well you can respond after Lukaku failing so dramatically, and I don't think someone like Aubameyang or someone like Jamie Vardy's obviously signed a new contract now, so that's kind of dispelled all those rumours, is the worst idea.
And the striker market at the moment, we just mentioned about United,
it's so thin.
Isn't great.
It's mad.
It's really, and maybe next summer, you know what, people have come, deals have gone down a year. Another youngster's come through that looks really, really exciting, and so might look a little bit easier then. But I think for someone that knows the league, who has been a success, don't get me wrong, his last season at Arsenal wasn't great. It was very, very poor. But previous to that was very, very successful in the Premier League, won the Golden Boot.
Do you know what's crazy?
Getting him in is not a bad idea.
He's like,
to me.
why didn't you go for Gabby Jesus?
Chelsea did go for Gabby Jesus, but Chelsea don't have Mikel Arteta and they don't have Edu.
Do you think he picked Arsenal over you?
I don't reckon Chelsea went as hard for Gabby Jesus as they did for Raheem Sterling.
But do you not think that was more necessary than Raheem Sterling? If you could have had one of the two City players, it feels to me like he's the better fit for that system, and you've already got the wide talent to kind of pitch.
I mean, you don't know where the deal was whether the deal was basically going to be done with Arsenal when Chelsea went in, and I do agree. Like Gabby Jesus looks fantastic.
Chelsea.
I also think that Chelsea would have just been a more attractive prospect in
Champions League football, yeah, for sure.
No, I mean, sorry, Arsenal just playing down the centre, has that working relationship with the coach. Like he needed a little bit of love. Maybe needed to be the main guy. Like, what centre forwards have prospered under Thomas Tuchel in the last in his Chelsea tenure?
I also do question
whether
Champions League football is actually that much of an attractive prospect to footballers that are playing the Champions League. To someone like Gabby Jesus, where he might even have come to Chelsea, and then there was a lot of talk about, is he going to get minutes with Kai Havertz? Is he going whereas the Arsenal is, you are the main man here, you are going to be our star for the years to come. And so I can understand why that project is maybe more attractive as well, and I don't know about the money side of things.
And maybe just saw a more settled forward line. Chelsea trying to overhaul that front line in its entirety, aren't they?
There's a lot more pressure.
I know what you're saying. I'm just playing devil's advocate.
No, for sure. And I think there's a lot more pressure coming into the Chelsea front line than is the Arsenal front line. Like the Arsenal front line is pretty settled. Like Saka's really good, Martinelli's really good, Odegaard's fantastic, even Emile Smith-Rowe when he's on is really good, whereas Chelsea's front line is still very much like, who's going to score the goals?
I think that's exactly what I was trying to articulate. You look at the composition of both sides, maybe as someone that's just going to drop in that number 9's place, and you're like, listen, I can see my supply line at Arsenal. Chelsea, conservative coach, struggling for goals, big money signings have failed up top. Like,
playing for Chelsea now requires a lot of maybe what he was kind of doing at City anyway, and he's going to have to do a lot of running, he's going to have to do a lot of pressing, and maybe for attackers it's not the most fun thing to be doing, whereas at Arsenal it is looking like it's very
well, he's working hard, but he's given a bit more freedom.
Exactly.
Right?
It's going to be so interesting to see Aubameyang do that role though. Like, do I ever see Aubameyang? I just don't see Aubameyang doing this like Havertz dog work.
I agree.
I know that he's obviously.
Maybe that's why he's buying Anthony Gordon.
Yeah, but sure,
This is another one.
Let's talk about Anthony Gordon, man. Like, I love Anthony Gordon, but he's scored 4 Premier League goals, 3 of them been deflected. Yeah. Like, he's obviously a breakthrough star, but where the hell's he playing?
I don't want people to ever think like we're talking down about Anthony Gordon in this situation.
He's a good player, mate,
because when he plays for English youth teams as well, he's often looked like the best player on the pitch. Yeah. He's clearly got something about him where he's going to be a very good Premier League player and effective for a side in the top half of the table, but I don't know where the fee has come from for starters. £50 million, I can't.
Well, 45 million has already been rejected.
Yeah, I don't understand how Everton can say no to that. First and foremost, given their outlay over the last few years. But yeah, with those 2 floating number 8s occupied by Mount,
I think he might see him as a right wing
by Sterling.
I honestly think he might see him as a right wing back.
What about Loftus-Cheek's renaissance at the start of the season?
Is not the reason that you're going for Fofana to play Reece James as a wing back?
Like, I know, mate. I would love to give like some.
Explain your club, mate.
No, I agree.
And as well,
I agree.
Have we forgotten who like Callum Hudson-Odoi is? It's like are these not?
But I think
these caliber of players?
I think this is where he has tried Callum Hudson-Odoi, and Callum Hudson-Odoi is okay, but he's not going to be a right wing back. Maybe he looks at someone like Anthony Gordon and goes, I can mould this guy into what I want. But then also, what doesn't make sense is, I think the long-term future is still in Thomas Tuchel's mind of a 4 at the back. Like, he wants to eventually move to a 4 at the back, and he did it a little bit against Spurs.
And then that makes less sense of the Cucurella signing, though.
I question whether he is
falling down the pecking order.
Yeah, I question whether how.
Do you think Chilwell's recovery
injury?
Right.
Like Chilwell got a really bad injury, like for
maybe something we don't
ACL, know. And maybe he's seen him and goes, you know what, I don't want to rush. Maybe he didn't think he was going to spend 60 million plus on him. Maybe again it was the 40 million.
That's a bit of an Anthony sort of overpay.
Yeah. And so he was like, okay, look, I can get a guy in here who can help me with out 3 at the back, and we've got cover. I can play left wing back, and he can play left back as well in a 4 at the back too. Because actually in interviews he has said, Cucurella, I'm actually a left back. Like that's where I see myself in interviews recently. But God, like I think also Chelsea need a midfielder. Like it's one of the great things that came out of Spurs.
Can't see Jorginho both in the last years of the deals, right?
And that was the thing. Like coming out of the Spurs game, you were like, oh, Kante looks fantastic, great. Hamstring gone.
But where's his money? Like I know that the owners come in.
So Chelsea.
Cash,
so in terms of money,
money's out is huge.
So because of the COVID ruling and FFP at the moment, Chelsea are actually really right.
I get that, but still.
But they're okay until.
Can't do 300 million a window.
So I think obviously there is also sales that are going to be happening. Chelsea obviously tried to offload Hakim Ziyech. The Pulisic rumours. Pulisic
loan.
Come on, Hakim Ziyech should be going for about 20 something at least. The Christian Pulisic, the Christian Pulisic rumours. Well, you'd also hope that had an obligation to buy.
Like done loan on Lukaku.
Again, you're hoping that becomes a sale eventually.
Loan for Chalobah.
Chalobah's not going to get sold anyway.
Loan for Hudson-Odoi.
But I don't think they're going to look to be selling Callum Hudson-Odoi.
But then the potential outlays become 60 on Cucurella, 80 on Fofana, 35 on Koulibaly.
Listen, I was just about to say, I understand what you're saying, but clearly they're not worried about getting players out the door because they've already had bids rejected for these players that you're mentioning. Yeah, but, like, what was it, 70?
You can't spend 300 million in a window.
I think there is a good chance. I think there is a good chance you might see Chelsea spend 300 million.
That's absolutely insane. If we see Chelsea,
and from the things that I've read, it's that Swiss
Ramble.
He did a whole article where he basically said Chelsea are absolutely fine in terms of money and FFP.
But I'm not talking about FFP. I'm talking about you doing so much money in one window that then you're then pigeonholing Tuchel into all of these players working in one system.
But as much as I love Thomas Tuchel, like he is basically in control of these signings. Yeah. He is the guy. If these signings don't work out, he's not really got anyone to blame because it's on him. A
little bit reminiscent to Lampard when he spent 220, and the sort of I guess that outlay weighed heavily over him, didn't it, for the next 6 months.